107.3 KFFM. I've got a very special lady in the building, the one and only Emily Jameson.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, my dear.
Hello.
So for everybody out there, please give them your title and how they could find you on social media.
Yeah, thanks. I am a trauma-aware transformational life coach. You can find me at emilyjamesoncoaching.com. I'm on Facebook at Emily Jameson Coaching. I'm on Instagram at The Emily Jameson, Pinterest at Emily Jameson Coaching. I also have a podcast called The Alchemy Incubator, and you can check that out on Spotify, Google, Playlists, and Apple.
We'll put that over at kffm.com along with this full interview and also a chance for you to get a free session with Emily, which we'll talk about. But you said that you've got different themes for each month.
I do, yeah. And for June, probably partly inspired by graduation and then what happens down the road, but it is Plan B. Not all of us have a Plan B when we start off on the road of life.
Right.
Kids are graduating. It's graduation time. I had somebody reach out to me today when they were like, uh-oh, I just graduated and now I need to talk to a life coach.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
I don't want to scare anybody that's graduating, but it's a weird thing. Like you graduate and you're like, oh, I literally could do anything.
And if you are listening to this and you're like, I'm not overwhelmed, I know what I'm doing. Okay, more power to you. That's fantastic. So I'm going to speak to everyone else right now who might need to hear this. So Plan B, like having a Plan B for your life. First of all, I want to say we make the road by walking. And that can be disorienting sometimes.
Yes.
Especially if you are somebody who just checked the boxes as you went along, knew like you needed to get these classes so you could get into this college that you wanted to, and you did everything you're supposed to do, and you got into school, and now you're getting your degree, and you got your degree, and okay, and like now what? Whoa.
Right. You didn't have a plan more than what?
Yes. Yeah. Plan B can be a thing that you need to find in your life. And occasionally somebody will get into their career, start doing the work, and then in 10 years, they realize this isn't fulfilling for me. This isn't fun. This is hard. This is a grind. And they wake up and they may start to put the pieces together of, oh, my dad or mom always wanted me to do this career, be an accountant or be a teacher or whatever. It wasn't what I wanted. Other times, somebody may follow the steps and work really hard to get into what they want and just find that those doors don't open for them in the way that they would have liked. And without a Plan B, you can sit there and literally feel like you are wandering in the wilderness without a map. So that's why I like to bring it back to we make the road by walking. And in the school of life, this is how we figure out, like, we have to learn about ourselves, and we don't always know that information until we're on the job or in the situation trying something out. And what happens is that there's a good chance that the universe can shake you up and give you a little bit of a wake-up call around ages 27, 28. So I just recorded a podcast on this topic of Plan B with a friend of mine. So if you're curious to go back and look at that, you can. She's a therapist in Portland, Oregon. I've known her for a long time. And she was talking about this concept of having a Plan B. And we got into the conversation and she was saying, I notice this a lot with my clients around ages like 26, 27. And I was really surprised at her pinpointing that, because of what I know is also that corresponds with an astrological event called the Saturn return.
Oh.
So Saturn takes 28 years approximately to move all the way around. So when you are about 27, 28, 29, Saturn is coming back to the place that it was when you were born.
Full cycle.
And it is not uncommon to feel like a quarter life crisis and to just be like, who am I? What am I even doing? I've been doing this. I'm not happy with it. I'm like, just to feel like there's upheaval in your life. And it is really fascinating. I happen to have that happen to me. I know many people that's happened to. I'd be curious if you think through your past, like where you were at that time of your life and what ended up occurring for you. But the thing is that this is a benevolent thing. So while it can be very disorienting and very frustrating and feel very inconvenient, it is all designed to help you get like moved into the right place. So it's kind of like a little seismic shift happening underneath you.
A touch uncomfortable,
yes,
but not painful.
not. Well, more painful if you resist it.
There you go.
And so if you do resist it, here's another fascinating thing. I also have people who come to work with me who are around age 59, which is when it goes around again. So you may get kind of like reshuffled by the universe at these periods in your life, but they are all intended to help you get more clear on who you are, what you actually value, what the work is that you should be doing in the world, and to kind of like make you uncomfortable so that you change, because we don't really do that very well if the circumstances around us don't kind of get a little tight. We're not creatures who consciously go find the ways to change and improve until the screws get tightened.
We're forced.
Yeah. So I want to offer this to you if you are listening and you are like, that describes my life. I am not going to gloss over the fact that it can be full of grief when you realize, like, I've put years into developing something. I wanted it to go this way and it didn't. Who am I now? It can be uncomfortable, but I want to offer you the hope in the fact that this is meant to serve you and to help you dig a little deeper and uncover who you really are. That can be hard sometimes to do on your own, which is where my services as a life coach come in. So I am equipped to help you figure out the stuff that lights you up and makes you excited. And sometimes that may involve a career change, but bringing intentionality and consciousness to that can help you create your path, making the road by walking, moving forward in the direction of the stuff that lights you up and what is going to be the right situation for you. So know that these things that happen, they do happen. They're more common than you would think.
Yes.
Like now that I'm, in my 40s, I can say, oh, wow, at that time in my life, I thought it was just me. It's not. This is a thing that happens. And if we actually start to talk about this more openly, then I think it'd be really encouraging for people, rather than to feel like somehow because you aren't doing at age 28 what you thought you were going to be doing at age 18, that you failed. Absolutely not true. You are learning, you're refining who you are, you're getting better. When you know yourself better, you know your strengths better, hopefully. If you don't, call me. We will do that work together. And then you have that language and you have that in your toolkit. And then you can say, okay, wow, now that I know myself better, I can see why, for an example, being a teacher was really exhausting for me. It's not
there's
the right
a portion
fit.
of the teaching that sets your soul on fire, but then there's a bunch of elements around it that are sucking the life out of you.
Totally. And so we can peel away those layers and then identify the parts that light you up, and then help that to kind of like come to the surface so you can work with the things that are going to also fill your cup, and then put that out in service to the world in a different form if necessary.
Yes. Gosh.
Anyway,
I'd be
plan
so
B.
curious to hear what everybody's, because I know when I was younger, at 26, I was going to get married, and at 28, I was going to have my first baby. That did not happen. And still no baby. That was a shocker in itself, but I would assume that you spend those first 28 years of your life, your parents have kind of set out things and all the people that are around you, and they kind of form the path because they've walked on that path before. And so it just feels natural that the family would follow in those footsteps. And then you realize, wait, I'm not like my mom and my dad. I don't really like what my uncle had presented to me, like all these different things. It's a good shift. It's a scary shift. And you're right, it can get pretty overwhelming and painful, but thank goodness we've got professionals like yourself that are willing to say, sit down for a second.
Sit down for a second.
Deep breath.
Take a deep breath. Right. You know me well. We start there, and then flipping it into the reframe of, this is meant to help you become your truest self.
Yes.
Not just a facsimile of what someone else thought was the best life for you. And I think a lot of times people offer that up, especially our parents or our grandparents, where like in our generation, which sounds weird to say, but like go to college, go to college, go to college.
Yeah.
And completely forgetting that there's tons of other really important skilled trade jobs.
Yeah. You could just go to school for 2 years and then not have all of these. I'm still paying off my college loans, and I'm not even in the career path that
I'm on plan G.
Right.
At this point, like I tried on so many different hats, and 20 years ago, being a life coach wasn't even a profession that was talked about. Maybe there were a few people who were life coaching.
Right.
But in the last 10 years, it's been a space that a lot more people have stepped into. The need has opened up. We talk about mental health now in our culture in a completely different way. People have an awareness of the need for that. And so I couldn't even have said back back in college that this is the place where I was going to end up at.
Right.
So if any of this resonates with you, please be gentle on yourself, but also go in the places that light you up. So I had this quote that I wanted to share because it resonates with me. This is from Helen Keller, who, I mean, she's bad A.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with Helen Keller, blind, deaf, inaudible.
Yeah, she lost her sight and hearing in 19 months. So she was extremely resilient. And she said, security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I see why you picked that. Let's go for daring adventures every single day and not look at your plan B like it's a failure.
Exactly.
Or, I tried this and it didn't work and now we're pivoting. Your plan B is actually where you're supposed to be.
Correct. So whether you are graduating from high school, go live the daring adventure or nothing. Commit to yourself that if you're graduating from college. If you are listening at work right now and you're thinking to yourself, this doesn't light me up in the way that I thought that it would, please say yes to your soul calling you forth to a daring adventure and trust it.
Yes.
And get curious about that.
Yes.
I think that any journey worth anything starts with just being open to that little bit of curiosity.
Yes.
And then see where that takes you.
Minor tweaks. We're not saying go quit your job or put in your 2 weeks notice because again, we've grown up with this thing where like our work life and our work family, those are very unhealthy things to put all your eggs and all your happiness into one thing, especially if it's a soul sucking job that, it's paying the bills, but it's definitely not lighting your soul on fire. What does light your soul on fire? And can you do both?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What lights your soul on fire is doing cross stitch, then do it.
Do it. Just because Sally over there or Frank isn't into your cross stitch.
Or you want to go skydiving.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the adrenaline rush that you need to then make it through another week in your cubicle. Do it.
I will give a shout out to my mother because I've seen recently she has started going outside of the norm that I'm used to her doing. So first it was pickleball.
Cute.
And she is on little pickleball teams.
Yeah.
And now she was like, well, I got to go to ping pong. I was like, what? She apparently found some free ping pong. They go out and they play ping pong. And she's one of the older ladies that does it, but she just loves it. And I just think that is so awesome. You have to do these things. You got to test them out. And even it's going to be uncomfortable. And you're probably not going to say everything perfectly, but afterwards you're going to be like, oh, that was awesome.
Yep.
Oh.
To curiosity and adventure.
Oh, cheers, Emily. Give them your socials one more time so that way they can find you. I want you to enter. Oh, and then offer what you're offering because we are actually going to call somebody that doesn't even know that they won.
I will do that first. Yes, I'm offering a free session with me and it's your choice. I have 2 offers that I have here. One is the Strengths Finder. So if you are like, what am I good at? And what makes me awesome? We can find out.
Yes.
And the other one is a really specialized session that I offer. And if you are feeling overwhelmed by all of the events and the political climate and just the stuff that's happening right now, this may be for you. It's kind of I call it an emotional cleanse. It doesn't involve drinking anything that tastes weird.
Thank goodness.
It's just a little more of a guided meditation process to help you shed the intensity and the weight of the negative emotions of anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and shame. And then you get to walk out the door feeling a little bit lighter. So people love that one. You can find me on Instagram at the Emily Jameson. I'm on Facebook at Emily Jameson Coaching. My website is emilyjamesoncoaching.com. And I have a podcast called The Alchemy Incubator that you are free to listen to on Spotify, iTunes, and on Google.
Making it happen. Always a pleasure to have you in.
Thank you so much.
Cannot wait to have you in again. KFFM.com for all of the details to adventures.